Ladies and gentlemen, we are live this afternoon on a Sunday, and it is time for another NASCAR 06 Total Team Control Cup Series season race. We are getting close to the end of the season already, just 14 races to go in the season-long points format as well to try and crown a champion. And today, our driver Greg Biffle comes in third in the point standings, only 21 out of first. That's right, 21 points separating the top three. And Elliott Sadler, who has now led in points for 4 consecutive races, looking to make it 5 today at a track that he has won at before, of course, so on a different configuration. This is not Texas Motor Speedway, the Oval. This is Texas Motor Speedway, the Roval, and we have 226 laps of racing this afternoon on this racetrack. Like, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get into today's full race live stream realistic commentary coverage. And for today, it is the Texas 500K. We're about to hop into qualifying for this one. Hopefully I have the setup right after practice. I did put in the chat while we're a couple minutes late at least. I hit start race by accident when I was modifying the I was going to modify the car setup after practice. And when I was coming from the practice screen down to the start, down to the car setup, I accidentally hit X like right before I went to car setup, so it started the race. So I had to quickly turn the PS4 off and turn it back on again, so that way it didn't simulate the race for me. Because if I would have tried to back out and quit, it would have simulated it. So I would not have wanted that to happen. So then I had to come back in and do the setup again, basically, and kind of modify it from where I had it in practice. So about to qualify for today's race. You guys will see that, and we'll have, of course, the ticker down at the bottom of the screen with it. Wade Solinsky, Mark DeMars, Seagrim 3, Asaya Z, and Furfur Express. Thanks for tuning in today, as you guys were the first in the chats down below right before we started the stream. Got the classic Greg Biffle National Guard paint scheme back for today's race. He has not won in this paint scheme. In fact, actually, he has DNF'd in all 3 races. He's used this paint scheme this year, but hopefully the 4th, he'll break the curse. I really hope so. Not sure what the race is going to be like quite today. And it is really loose. It was not this loose in practice. We'll see how it's going to go. 2 laps to try to set the quick time. That was the warm-up lap coming out of the pits. Here's lap 1 that will count for Greg Biffle. Those front tires up just a little bit. Not a great lap so far. The car is definitely loose. I'm going to have to make some more modifications before we go into the race. I'm not going to make it all 226 laps like this. For those of you that watched our Busch Series doubleheader last night, you would know that I was way too loose at California with Kyle Busch, and we broke the top 10 streak, unfortunately finishing in 14th after 9 straight top 8 finishes to start the season before that. Average finish there, though, still only went down to a 4.2. It was a 3.1 average finish going into the race, so it did drop, but it didn't drop much. And you saw Biffle get a little loose in the middle of oval 3 and 4 there. Has to lock the tires up to try to catch the car again into turn 3. And honestly, this lap isn't much better than the lap before. Might need a little bit more downforce too, I think. Try to grip up a bit more. But not a great lap for Greg Biffle on either one, really. And I think lap 2 will be just a slight bit quicker. 39.831, 21st. So he only gained 1 spot from his first lap to his second lap. So going to be starting mid-pack. It looks like Kurt Busch is going to be on the pole for this one today. I am bumping that downforce up. Taking the wedge back into it. Or putting the wedge back into it. And we'll go from there. Alrighty. So not a great qualifying session for Greg Biffle, but we'll see how the race will do. His teammate Kurt Busch again on the pole. Busch comes in 4th in the point standings. Green flag is going to be in the air, and the inaugural Texas, well, I guess technically our second Texas Roval race on the channel is underway. first since NASCAR 05. Busch leading the field down into turn 3. Biffle going for a bunch of spots. Crams his way into Ricky Rudd in the 21. Actually, it was pretty slight contact, all things considered, with the 21 of Rudd. Biffle just trying to find his own space right now, and he's already gained 3 positions on the opening lap. He kind of let Travis Quaffle go. He doesn't want to be side by side in the middle of the corner if he can help it. At least until he gets the hang of the racetrack a little more with the newer setup in the race. Kurt Busch leads the opening lap, though. 226 laps on a road course is a long time. Though this isn't a very long road course. Fairly short for the most part. Biffle again deep into the corner, 3 wide under Ricky Rudd. Clears the 21, but he's still got the 0 of Mike Bliss. Biffle going a bit wide that time. He's going to give the spot right back up to Rudd anyway. Still stuck 3 wide because he couldn't clear down on the bottom, so when he was on the outside, he couldn't really hit his marks in that corner. Nice little run, though, on the front stretch underneath of Ricky Rudd. Cars are not built to turn right around an oval like this. I think that's part of the reason why it's a little tricky as well, as Rudd really squeezes Biffle in oval 3 and 4. Turns 1 and 2, of course, today. And again, Biffle gets around Rudd. Rudd is not getting through that braking zone in turn 3 very well, and Biffle has taken advantage of it a couple times now. Ethan, thanks for tuning in. We oval and we roll. Biffle again trying to side draft Mike Bliss. He'll be on the inside of the 0 car going into the corner, clips the apron. Luckily, the speeds aren't too high mid-corner versus the oval, so I think he'll be all right with clipping the apron today. A little contact up ahead. Like Kenny Wallace gets bumped out of the way by Sterling Marlin in the 40. Kurt Busch pulling away at the front of the field right now, while Biffle pretty much mired mid-pack. Edwards down to the apron trying to get around the car in front of him. Can't tell who it is. From this far back that he's battling with. Biffle again underneath Mike Bliss, side drafts him just a little bit, up off that final corner and back onto the main straightaway. Still side by side with the 0. A lot of 2x2 racing just outside the top 10, in fact. Biffle hits his marks perfectly that time in turns 1 and 2. Down into 3. Look at him get all those spots. Holds the curbing, didn't make contact with Sterling Marlin, clears him. He's got Terry Labonte on his inside. He does not go wide in that corner. He'll stay underneath the 44 of Labonte. What a move by Greg Biffle. And if he can get by the 44, he's going to end up passing about 6 cars this lap. Maybe 7 as he gets by Edwards with a little contact, and Edwards goes up the racetrack. I don't know if he got in the wall or not off the final corner. Biffle didn't mean to make contact with his teammate, but he pushed it a little over the edge there, costing Edwards. And Biffle passed 7 cars that last lap with everybody bunched together as he took the inside into turn 3. And I mean, for the most part, he did it cleanly other than the contact with Edwards at the very end of the lap. He's got a fantasy driver right in front of him who qualified well in the 176. Biffle looking to try and get around him. Michael Waltrip also qualified well as he's barely inside the top 10. Currently in 7th, about to lose a spot potentially though to Tony Stewart in the 20. I don't know. I wasn't the game developer to tell you why it was a backwards road course. Oh, contact. Waltrip moving Stewart. Just a little bit. Not going to be able to make the pass with it, I don't believe. And Stewart holds clear, and that actually costed Waltrip a little extra time with that contact, because now Biffle's all over the back of him. Looking extremely low, using the apron to his advantage. Slides up, clear of the 15. Waltrip going to try to cross him over, but Biffle throwing the block. Great corner by Greg Biffle. It was a deep dive. It worked out. And on pressure tires, he can make that move stick. I think adding that downforce into the car after qualifying definitely helped grip up well enough to make that move. Tony Stewart trying to pass. Looks like Jeremy Mayfield right in front of him as well. Down into turn 3 on the inside. He'll make the pass on Mayfield. Biffle to the outside in turn 4. Not going to be able to make the pass there. And has to sit back in line behind the 19. But Biffle, the biggest mover, has to be of the race so far after qualifying 21st. Picked up a few spots on the first lap. Picked up a handful of positions. Another lap later, contact with Mayfield. Up into the wall. Caution's out. Mayfield has crashed. Wall trip into the back of him after Greg Biffle turned him in. A little too aggressive out of Greg Biffle there early on. And he's going to have to go to the tail of the field for that, unfortunately. And that is not what he wanted, because we saw how tight the track position battle was mid-pack. Hard hit for Waltrip. My goodness. I mean, he got absolutely crunched. Mayfield did. A lot of damage on both race cars right now. And I can pretty much guarantee that we're going to be seeing some debris cautions in the aftermath of that one. First caution of the race on, what, lap 8 or 9? Definitely an early yellow.
Looks like we're the only car on pit road during that entire caution.
So after Biffle accidentally turns Mayfield, similar move to what he did with Edwards. Edwards kept it off the wall. Mayfield did not. He actually hit it head on. He overcorrected the race car with the contact he had. Casey Cade, his teammate, towards the back end of the field. Green flag back in the air at lap 12. And I'm sure that won't be the last caution. I think we'll see some debris yellows here quickly. And I don't think that's going to be the last crash today either. Kurt Busch continues to lead with the single file restart. Probably going to have a stack up. Biffle's going to try to take the advantage down to the bottom. 3 wide under Jimmy Spencer. Caution is out. Right after the contact with the 50 of Spencer, the yellow flag came out. And, oh, it's a wreck. Tony Stewart has crashed in turn 4, so it wasn't even a debris caution. But something happened to Tony Stewart where he slipped up, got a little loose. He was on the outside of Jimmy Johnson for, it looked like, 3rd place. And ended up crashing. Backed it into the wall pretty hard. Wasn't expecting that, but caution. First lap after the restart, Tony Stewart. Yeah, Wings won 6-1 last night. Looking good this year. Green flag back in the air. Imagine it's going to be a stack up every restart going into turn 1, especially when you're in the middle to the back of the pack. Oh, Biffle gets loose. He clipped the apron at full speed that time. Saved the race car. Down into turn 1, locked the brakes up 3 wide, it looked like, with Kyle Petty. Couldn't tell who else was underneath him at the time. And he's back up to 28th. Junior stuck mid-pack. Biffle trying to stay clear of the 8. Not going to really be able to do that. Oh, Schrader got loose on that transition from the apron back up onto the banking of the front stretch. Got loose right in front of Biffle. Biffle had to check up. Give the 49 car a little bit of room. Biffle back in line underneath the 8 of Earnhardt. Didn't get loose that time in the transition. Back onto the apron. Like he did on that opening lap on the restart. Contact with the inside wall, though, in turn 3. Could have probably picked up a couple more spots if it wasn't for it. Kurt Busch has led every lap so far today. We are at lap 17. And we've had 2 early cautions. And make that 3 early cautions, as I believe that will be the debris yellow we were waiting on. At least one of them. And it's off Michael Waltrip's number 15 Napa Chevrolet. Tough break for him in the top 10, but got... I mean, he just absolutely T-boned Jeremy Mayfield after Mayfield hit head-on into the wall a little bit ago. But a lot of debris there on Michael Waltrip and his race car. Interested to see if the field potentially pits this time, or will they stay out? And it looks like they will stay out, so Greg Biffle will do the same. Green flag back in the air. Lap 23. Try to wait a little longer to move down towards the apron this time, and actually never even did it. On the curb under Kevin Harvick. It's just really bodying cars out of the way down to the inside, and we get another quick yellow, so that kind of worked out. Once again, pick up a few spots, get another quick caution. And this is more debris off Michael Waltrip's race car. Now his hood has come off, so first it was his front bumper, and now the hood has come off the 15. So 4 cautions, 2 for debris, 2 for wrecks. Michael Waltrip brings out both debris cautions, which were cautions 3 and 4. Brandon Martinez, thanks for tuning in. Rice, chicken, and vegetables. I'll be having some leftover hamburger helper for lunch after I get done with the stream. I actually ate a couple toasted bagels with cream cheese for breakfast this morning too. Green flag back in the air, lap 18. So Biffle got about 5 spots initially. Jeff Gordon kind of stuck mid-pack right now. And another quick yellow for debris as I saw something go flying in the air from one of the cars up ahead of the field. That was an even quicker debris caution. And that was Jeremy Mayfield's hood that came off. And it got kicked up from a bunch of race cars, and that's why it ended up so high in the air. Saw Brian Vickers blow a tire yesterday after running over a piece of debris and a late caution in that race, and it costed him a shot at the win. He was running about 7th at the time and ended up blowing the left front tire and slammed into the car to his outside. Just regular cream cheese. Philadelphia. Lap 30, green flag back in the air. Just a regular plain bagel, too. It wasn't anything exotic. 5 cautions. I was not expecting that in the first 30 laps. We'll see if we can get some more green flag racing in here. Ricky Rudd making a big move. Biffle just to the inside of Sterling Marlin. He was trying to keep it off him. He almost did that time. But again, passes are made for the Biff. Getting blocked by the 0 of Mike Bliss. Oh, 3 wide on the front stretch. That was not good for the 16. He's going to lose a lot of spots after that contact. That was the first time we've seen 3 wide on the front stretch today, and that costed him. Still trying to find out what he can and can't get away with in the early going, as we have more cars on the track now than what he did back in practice. Especially with how many restarts we've seen. This field's been bunched up from the start. Biffle to the outside of the 44 of Terry Labonte. In a battle for 16th. Elliott Sadler, by the way, took the lead a couple corners after the restart. I think he got to the lead in turn 3. Got by Kurt Busch, and now he's pulling away. So 5 bonus points for the points leader, Elliott Sadler. That's big for him. And obviously Kurt Busch has led a lot of laps early on, as he led about the first 30. Biffle crossing Labonte over now to the inside. And gets around Sterling Marlin as well with a clean pass in turn 3. There's enough space that he was able to clear him without having to try to pass another car as well. That's why he was able to get through there without making contact that time, despite driving it pretty deep on entry and late into the braking in that corner. Ricky Rudd running the 16 up the racetrack off that final corner. Biffle had to keep the lift to keep it off the wall, but still gets enough momentum down into turn 1 to get underneath the 21. And Waltrip, who's got a ton of damage, is dropping like a rock. No surprise there. Biffle slides right in front of the 31. Jeff Burton. Could see 20 more cautions. It's possible. It is definitely possible. Extra Moy, thanks for tuning in today as well. Biffle trying to look underneath the 0-0 of Kenny Wallace. Wallace pulling a little bit of a block. A little contact up ahead. I think Bliss got sandwiched between Carl Edwards and the 176, and that allowed Biffle to get underneath the 99. Cousin Carl and his teammate looks as if he's going to stay in front of him. It's tough to tell if Biffle's still there. No, he is still there. Biffle all the way down on the apron right now. And he gets around Mike Bliss as well as Carl Edwards that time. And underneath the 176 for 8th. Biffle slowly getting his way back up through the running order. Looks like Jeremy Mayfield hasn't fallen back with all the damage to his race car. He's still in 7th yet. Tony Stewart still in this race as well after spinning out on his own in turn 4 on that first restart of the race. That brought out the second caution. Greg Biffle motivates his way around the 19 of Mayfield and tucks back in line behind his teammate Mark Martin. Martin Truex Jr. trying to go for 3 straight top 10s today. He is already in the top 5 up to 5th as he passed Martin that last lap. Martin gets a bit loose back off the transition of the banking once again, and now Greg Biffle's underneath him for 6th, and he'll pass his teammate cleanly in 1 and 2. Truex trying to block the 16, so Biffle not going to even attempt to try to make the pass there that time. Good move by the 1, a little bit of defense though by him. Mirror driving. Kurt Busch is falling back to 3rd. Johnson's up to 2nd and pressuring Elliott Sadler for the lead at the front, while Stewart again still in 4th. Biffle trying to get inside the top 5 for the first time today. Oh, Truex got loose. Right in front of Biffle, and Biffle gave him a little bump draft, and that actually kind of straightened out the 1. And also pushed him ahead of the 16 a little more. Just saw somebody blow an engine and make his way into the pits as well. I'm not sure who that is, but somebody that was in the running order behind Biffle out of the race now. As Biffle will get around Truex in that finishing corner for 5th. Greg Biffle trying to go for 5 wins in a row today. No driver in modern era NASCAR history has ever won 5 in a row. But that is what Greg Biffle is going for in today's race. We didn't really talk about that at the start, but he has won the last 4, giving himself 10 wins on the season, 2 of them in dramatic fashion with last lap passes for the win at both Darlington and Michigan in that stretch. Stewart getting a bit loose. Seems to be Biffle's best corners. Either turn 3 or that final corner getting back onto the front stretch. He's in great position to get by Stewart. Trying to clear, lock the brakes up a little bit, but he does get around him and quickly alongside Kurt Busch. Kurt, big bounce. Biffle to 3rd. And clear into turn 1. Sadler really pulled away from Jimmy Johnson that last lap. Johnson was all over the back bumper of him, and somehow Sadler has pulled out to a few car length lead. Nobody has made a pit stop yet, but with the 5 cautions we saw early in the race, it's going to be tough to dictate exactly how far we can go in a full field run without yellows. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today as we're at lap 41. Biffle trying to make the charge as he's in 3rd. Big time closing rate through turns 4, 5, and 6. And now into the final turn 7 as he's all over the back of the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Just trying to force him into a mistake. Johnson may have gotten loose that time. Greg Biffle underneath him in the 16. And trying to go for second. Crew chief calling him clear, but he doesn't feel like sliding up the block. He'll just hold the inside line. He's easily clear into turn 1. And Sadler running a lot wider of an arc that time than Greg Biffle. Biffle trying to close into turn 3. Biffle's going to have a shot to try to take his first lead of the race here before long. Greg Biffle got credited for leading that lap, but he has not cleared Sadler yet until now. Sadler still trying to put up a fight on the outside. Maybe Biffle's not clear, and the 38's still there. Down into turn 3, and now Biffle clears him off the exit of turn 3 as he beats him back to the accelerator, and through the shifts they go. First gear to second, now back up to third, and it'll soon be in fourth once they get back onto the front stretch. So Greg Biffle leads for the first time today at the Texas Roval. And now he's got that track position, that clean air advantage. Trying to make a date with history today for 5 consecutive wins. And hopefully trying to take the points lead with it. Sadler's already led laps, Biffle's led laps, so they each have 5 bonus points in this race. That cancels out. Biffle is in first, so that's 10 points more than second, which is where Sadler runs right now. So as we run, Greg Biffle's 11 points out of first yet on Elliott Sadler. That would put him up to second in points, because remember, he is still third in the standings with Carl Edwards between the 38 and the 16 in points. Despite all those wins, those 4 DNFs in the first 15 races is what's kind of costed Greg Biffle why he was trying to play catch-up, but he has caught up, and we still have about a quarter of the season to go. Actually, about a third of the season really left until we crown the champion at Talladega in the final race of the year. Top 6 all came in within one race worth of points. It's 119 points separating them, then a gigantic gap between 6th and 7th in the standings between Jeff Gordon and Mike Bliss. Bliss still having a nice miracle season so far. He's had a lot of top 10s, but he's going to need a lot of help. Not a lot of top 5s to go on with it. Obviously no wins yet on the season. That means no wins for his career. He could steal a win yet before the end of the season. You never know. Cars One Boy, welcome into the stream. Greg Biffle's definitely pulling away after finally taking the lead at lap 42. Already out to almost a 1.5 second lead as they come to the start-finish line this time by at lap 47. He's definitely a couple tenths a lap quicker. Made the perfect setup change going into the race from qualifying, if I do say myself. We will take our first field pass of the race in about half a dozen laps or so. As soon as we get done alternating through the different camera angles, we'll see exactly where all the other Roush Fenway Fords are at in the field. We know Mark Martin and Kurt Busch were last in the top 10. Martin has ran really well in the road courses this year. In fact, his only 2 wins on road courses at both Watkins Glen, and then his first win of the season at the Talladega infield road course layout. Good chance to have another solid day. He's 16th in points coming in, though. No real shot at the championship this late in the season. but trying to add more career wins to his total. Didn't really have too many more beyond the 2005 NASCAR season in real life. Biffle quickly got out to that 1.4 second lead, but now it's kind of stuck between 1.3 to 1.6 seconds, so Sadler's found something of pace, either that or Biffle's car starting to fade a little bit on the long run, which could be a little bit of both. Hooking himself to that yellow line down on the inside of the track in turn 7. Yeah, I saw they had to move the Bills game today to the to Detroit Ford Field, which almost kind of makes it a little more of a home game for the Browns, excuse me, rather than the Bills, just because the Browns are a lot closer to Detroit than Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo's probably, what, 6 hours or so, but I mean, Cleveland's only 2.5, 3 hours at the most. Be probably quite a few Browns fans there, I'd have to assume. Biffle definitely not as rapidly growing that lead out as he once was, but he's still growing the lead out nonetheless. And it's going to be a while before we see lap traffic in this one. We last went green off the most recent caution at lap 30, so we're about 23 laps into this green flag run, making it the longest green flag run of the race so far, as we've had 5 yellows already. We'll finally get some racing in here after that slow start. I think that kind of snow would pretty much bury anybody. Most people. Even if you're 7 foot tall, I mean, it's still going to be like up to your chest. Not going to be able to walk in it. We will take our first field pass of the race today once we get back to the start-finish line. And we'll go back to the 97 car of Kurt Busch first. Try to see if we can get him back up in the running order just a bit more. Biffle continues to lead. Kurt Busch in 4th. We'll see if over the next 4 laps if we can move him up to potentially 2nd. I don't know if he's going to catch Elliott Sadler. Sadler's quite a ways up there. 4.5 seconds off the lead is Busch right now. So tries to close on Jimmy Johnson. We're going to be pressing extra hard on those tires right now at this point in the run with Kurt. And he's quickly closing on Johnson for 3rd. That's for certain. And this lap already looking faster than race leader Greg Biffle. There's a reason why Kurt Busch did lead about the first 30 or so laps in this race. And obviously qualified on the pole. Kurt, his fastest lap, 39.639. That last lap. So he closes on the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Big run for Kurt Busch. He really widened his arc out quite a bit that time. He's going to let Johnson go, try to undercut him. Gets alongside Jimmy again. He's going to be on the outside, though, into turn 7. That's probably not going to be an advantage. Johnson really running that 97 car up the racetrack. My goodness. I want to talk about not giving a driver any room to make the pass. Jimmy Johnson tried to squeeze Kurt Busch into the wall. I noticed in the middle of the corner that Busch was quite a bit up the track and Johnson was quite a ways off the bottom. Kurt held his line well, but Jimmy Johnson wanted no part of Kurt Busch challenging for position there. One more lap to try to get around the 48. Weather expert, thanks for tuning in. Kurt has a run underneath the 48. Side by side on the front stretch now. And into turn 1, will Johnson try to crowd Busch? Again, he's going to give him a lot more room. Now that Busch has the advantage on the bottom, he's going to have a real advantage down into turn 3. And Kurt Busch will take over third. He runs the 48 up. Same thing Johnson did to him, so a little bit of payback there from Kurt Busch as he takes over third. And we'll go to Mark Martin in the 6 car next. Martin's still in the top 10 as well, as he is currently sitting in 7th. Lap 59. Only 54. The wind chill at my house this morning when I got up was -1. It was very cold in the garage when I went to get the bagels from the refrigerator out there this morning. My garage door was closed. Couldn't imagine being out in the wind. Long period of time. I don't know that we're going to be able to get Mark Martin inside the top 5 over the next couple laps, but definitely has a good shot to get by Martin Truex Jr. here very soon for position. Look at how low Martin was. And he's going to easily clear the one of Truex. That was a big dive by Mark Martin, but he timed it perfectly in making that pass. 39.243 out of Mark Martin that last lap. That is a blistering fast lap, and a lot of it was the time he was able to cut down in turn 7. I don't think Biffle's car's got that much grip to run down there. Mark Martin's does, and even Kurt Busch's car felt a little loose. And Kurt's still pressuring that 38 car of Elliott Sadler for second as well. He's all over his back bumper. Biffle pulling away. Martin about 6.5 seconds off the lead as he is right behind Tony Stewart in the 20, looking for 5th place. One more lap with him, and then we'll transfer back to Carl Edwards in the 99 car next. I mean, after Stewart wrecked earlier, I thought he was going to have more damage to the rear of his car, but I guess not. It sounds like Kurt Busch is going to be pitting this time, and so will Tony Stewart. So that's actually going to move Mark Martin up to about 4th. Got to make sure not to run the apron too low with cars pitting. I'm actually kind of surprised we're seeing some pit stops right now at lap 62, but we are, and we'll go to Carl Edwards in the 99 car next. He is up to 6th with a lot of cars pitting as well. He was barely inside the top 10 the last we saw of him before that. So green flag pit stops are starting midway through this race. We'll have 4 laps with the 99 of Edwards, and then we'll transfer to Matt Kenseth for a handful of laps, and back to Biffle. Tony Stewart, or sorry, rather Martin Truex Jr. will pit this time. Biffle still staying on the track. So our first pit stops of the day. Because of how short this road course is, I do believe it's the shortest road course on this game. The real tracks and the fantasy tracks. That even though you try to short pit, most road courses you can stay on the lead lap, so you can kind of get away with it, but not here. You'll go a lap down. Track is just long enough for that to be the case. Matt Kenseth is into the pits now. So he's going to be back in the running order quite a bit when we transfer to him. A lot of smoke down in turn 3. Oh, man, Junior still on the inside. Edwards had no clue he was coming up the racetrack there. Kind of got into the back of him a little bit off the exit of turn 3. Edwards looking to cross him back over. That undercut move. And clears it. Edwards is about 8.4 seconds behind Greg Biffle. And there's Matt Kenseth in the 17. We'll watch those cars down to the bottom of the racetrack. Edwards checking up early. He's going to be a little patient here. Maybe a little too patient towards the outside of the racetrack. Almost gave up a spot to Earnhardt. Mark Martin now pitting. Kenseth a little loose that time. We'll transfer to the 17 car, who is in 20th place, right in front of Edwards. A lap down in 20th. But again, Kenseth has pit already. Edwards with a little bump and run in turn 4 on Nemechek to get by him quickly for another position. That moves Kenseth to 19. Jimmy Johnson's on his way into the pits now. The low's number 48, Chevrolet. Mark Martin is in. Still, I think he's probably more towards the exit of the pit lane by now. How quickly Matt Kenseth has pulled away from Edwards on his fresher tires. Tires do matter. With Biffle staying out as long as he is, that is one way Elliott Sadler could potentially get back to the lead. Kenseth gets around Kenny Walls cleanly. Turn 4, Carl Edwards is into the pits this time. Biffle again stays out. I think Kenseth should cycle inside the top 10 by the time everybody pits. I think that's Jeff Gordon in the 24 car down on the bottom of the racetrack. Kenseth is closing in on. Mike Bliss just in front of Gordon as well. Kenseth up to 11th. Will Greg Biffle pit this time, or will he continue to stay out? He will continue to stay out, it looks. So Biffle, the lone driver that still has not pit. Matt Kenseth to the inside of the 24 of Jeff Gordon for 10th. Kenseth may actually cycle out in front of Carl Edwards. Maybe. Maybe not. Yeah, I see Edwards up there. He is not. So Edwards should be in about 9th place, I believe. 8th. 8th place. Looks like he's right behind Stewart. Kenseth to the inside of Jeff Gordon. Oh, contact! He almost turned himself. Thought he was going to be clear when he moved down. He was not. He's up to 10th, I guess, but not the way he wanted to do it. Almost caused an accident. Lap 70 at the line. Biffle still out there on the racetrack. Gordon looking to the outside. Kenseth blocking the 24. Trying to get his momentum back. And Greg Biffle will pit this time by at lap 71 for him. So we'll stay out of the pits here with Matt Kenseth as Greg Biffle will make his stop. There he is in the lead, and we'll see if he'll still cycle out with the lead. He was really pulling away prior to green flag pit stops. We'll see if that gap is going to close at all. Tim Irvin, thanks for tuning into the stream. Kenseth closes quickly on Mike Bliss. A little too quickly, got into the back of him, and that actually kind of pushed the 0 out a little bit further up ahead. Greg Biffle leaving the pits right now, down on the apron of the track through turns 1 and 2, trying to get up to speed. Kenseth has cleared Mike Bliss for position. We'll go one more lap with the 17 car, so then we'll transfer back to Greg Biffle next lap at the start-finish line. Kenseth's worked his way to 9th. He was one of the first cars to hit pit road when we started green flag pit stops. Obviously still on the track right now. Anywhere in NASCAR, I have no clue. I don't plan on playing it, so that's why I haven't really looked too much into it. I know they delayed it from what I heard, but I have no clue like what the expected release date was or originally or now. I have no details on that, to be completely honest. So back to Greg Biffle. That lead has shrunk. It was about 4 seconds. It's down to about a 2.7 to 2.8 second lead. Greg Biffle still out in front, though. And about to get into lap traffic for the first time today. Which could be interesting, as there will be cars around the 16. Cars that are about to go a lap down at the tail end of the field really praying for a quick caution. They can stay on the lead lap, but I don't know. The field is definitely more spaced apart now than what they have been all day. Again, this is by far the longest green flag run, as we are now at about the 35 lap mark of this green flag run. There are 5 cautions in the first 30 laps. 2 wrecks, 3 debris yellows. Jeremy Mayfield spun, got T-boned by Michael Waltrip. Martin Truex Jr. was also involved in that wreck. So 2 of the DEI cars involved, and then Tony Stewart spun on a restart as well. The restart to that caution, that first yellow came out about lap 8 or 9. And then Tony Stewart spun on his own on the outside in the restart in turn 4, backed it into the outside wall there. And then 3 debris yellows, 2 from Waltrip and then 1 from Mayfield. Those were all 5 yellows. Biffle will lap his first car of the day through turns 1 and 2. Biffle qualified 21st, got to the lead at about lap 32, and has led every lap since. So he has led the most laps in the race so far, but Kurt Busch led a lot at the beginning, though. And Elliott Sadler led for a couple laps right before. I should say lap 42, Greg Biffle took the lead, not 32. Lap 32, Sadler took the lead away from Kurt Busch on a restart. And then Biffle ran him down about 10 laps later. It's a little contact with Shane Neal, about turned the 08 car in turn 7, but luckily was able to finally get to the inside. Shane Neal kind of kept control of the race car. I didn't even see your comment earlier, honestly, Mark. Actual 2005 NASCAR chase outcome showed that Roush had 5. Yeah, they did have all 5 in the chase that year, and you're right, they didn't win the championship with it. Imagine having half of the drivers in the playoffs still not winning. Scott Wimmer blocking for his life right now on Greg Biffle. He's not going to block that low, and Biffle's going to get around him. It's one way to get around the 22 of Wimmer. And we have all 5 of them in the top 15. But I think only 4 rather, in the top 10, because Kenseth's 10th now. Earnhardt was there, but Kenseth was able to pass him in points. Lap 80 in this race. A 4.1 second lead right now for Greg Biffle. Still a long ways from the finish yet. Lap 113 will be the halfway mark, and we'll have a trivia question today. Regulars of the channel, of course, know. Down underneath the 45 of Kyle Petty. So again, not sure exactly how far a fuel run can exactly be. We saw everybody pretty much pit in the time frame from right around like lap 63, 64 all the way to about 71, 72. Biffle was the last to pit. But again, we had so many yellows early in the race, 5 of them, for, if I had to guess, probably 15 caution laps. So I wouldn't be shocked if these guys could only go just over 50 laps on fuel for most of the field. But again, we'll have to wait and see exactly how much fuel they were able to save under the cautions. Into the back of Scott Riggs. Launched him a little bit further out ahead of him. Down to the bottom. Trying to get by the 10 of Riggs. And does. There's so much grip down there. I'm glad I found that with Mark Martin when we were driving as him. Car's a little bit more snug. So I can't really get the car quite that far down the track, but still a good day going. So I've been in contact with Boris Seton, 36, also in turn 4. Biffle didn't have to go quite as low to get around him, though, in turn 7. And now he's right in line behind the 43 of Jeff Green. Earl Arnold Jr., thanks for tuning in. Sam Motti, also welcome into the stream. We got the Christmas tree going up. Yeah, we'll probably wait till next weekend. Oh, big hit! Jeff Green has brought out our 6th caution. I don't think Greg Biffle really turned him there. It almost looked like the 43 just kind of blocked himself into the inside wall and off the front bumper of Greg Biffle's race car. I mean, Biffle was there. He held his line. And Jeff Green turned down on top of him, and that is going to bring out a caution. Big hit for Green, both into the inside wall and the outside wall. So I'm not gonna cost myself there. I think if it's 100% clearly the other guy's fault, then I'm not gonna pit. But in that case, that was all Jeff Green's fault. Greg Biffle's big lead is gone, and the green flag's back in the air. So that's not a caution he wanted. He had a 4-second lead, and now he spins the tires on the restart. Johnson in the wall with Elliott Sadler. They are up on the outside of the track and wrecking. Biffle still can't get to the bottom with all the lap cars. No caution. We stay green. And Mark Martin's going to drive all the way up to second. Trying to, at least, underneath the 38 of Sadler. What a crazy restart that was. Off the exit of turn 2, Sadler and Johnson had gotten together. Biffle and Riggs sliding back up onto the pavement. We get that first lap in on the restart that time. That was a wild one. Biffle just could not get going there initially. Kind of got ran over by the 48. Sadler tried to slide up in front, right in between the 16 and the 48, and he ended up not clearing Johnson when he moved up, and he put himself in the wall, and now Mark Martin's up to P2. Biffle's got one more lapper to get around. We got by him on the restart. That would be the 45 car of Kyle Petty. Corey Freak, thanks for tuning in. 6 seconds ahead. Even worse. To the inside of Kyle Petty. Lap 90 right now. Biffle's got by Kyle Petty through turn 3. Back into the clean air again. Mark Martin still has to catch it past 2 more lap cars. So he's trying to pull away from Jimmy Johnson, Elliott Sadler, the rest of the field behind him. And simultaneously trying to cut into Greg Biffle's lead in any way, shape, or form. Again, though, Greg Biffle holding on to it for now. While we're in the clean air, I guess try and mix some things up. We'll just alternate through the different camera angles for the final time today. $22 likes already on the stream today. Thanks for everybody hitting that like button. Not even halfway through the race. We're on pace for over 40 likes. Let's see if we can get there. Early Sunday afternoon stream. It's going to be a similar start time for most of the NASCAR off-season with our video game streams. I think it's pretty clear to say that Greg Biffle's got the fastest car in the field for today's race. It's just a matter of can he keep the car clean. He's had a couple scares in this one, but he has kept the car at least clean enough. Continues to lead in the middle portion of the race. And trying to go for that elusive 5 consecutive wins. No driver in modern era NASCAR history has ever won 5 races in a row in the NASCAR Cup Series. And Greg Biffle's trying to do that today. And I think he's got a pretty good shot at it. When you have the fastest car, now it's just time for the driver to minimize any mistakes. And right now he's in a good spot, but we're only at lap 95 of 226. Still gonna have to be patient. It's all part of a Texas doubleheader for the Cup Series on this custom schedule season. Tomorrow night will be on the Oval at Texas for a 500-mile race, and that will be taking place at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. Again, NASCAR 6 Cup Race, Texas, 500 miles, and it will start at 6. Taylor Klaus, thanks for tuning in. Should have one more stop. Yeah, at least one more. I'd probably lean towards maybe 2 more stops, actually. The rest of this race yet. Probably looking at a 3-stopper. Nobody has pitted during any of the 6 cautions we have seen today. Maybe cars a little bit further back, kind of scared of potentially losing spots. And not getting them back. And knowing how much they can gain on restarts as well to try to get more track position that way, just like Mark Martin was able to jump to 2nd on the last restart. Especially after that stack up with the 48 and the 38 and pretty much a lot of other cars on the outside. Three-and-a-half-second lead nearly for Biffle already after the restart. Took place at lap 90. So he is quickly pulling away. R6, welcome into the stream also. Lap 100 in this race. Almost halfway home. Honestly, after qualifying mid-pack, I didn't feel too confident in the race car, but we made some amazing changes before this race started, enough so that Biffle didn't have to make any adjustments during the first pit stop of the race, despite practicing, making adjustments from that to qualifying. Then the car was a little too loose. Dialed it back just a little bit. And now the car's got a lot of grip and it's fast. He's really able to attack in these corners very aggressively and not really abuse the tires too much with that. Christopher McComas, thanks for tuning in. That's kind of the way it is here. The sun's out for like the first time in like 4 days where I live, but it's also the coldest day we've had so far this year. I think the temperature high is supposed to be in like the low 20s today, but that wind chill this morning, -1. I don't know what's supposed to be later in the day. I don't know if it's supposed to break out of single digits or not. But it is cold. I plan on staying inside all day. I do not plan on leaving the house. Getting off of work early on Wednesday. But having to work later this week, so it'll be kind of nice. an early start to, not really the weekend, Thanksgiving. I'll still have to work Friday, Saturday. There's supposed to be like 48, so I might potentially golf as long as it's not super windy. I'll have time to do it. Assuming the golf course is, of course, open. 22 golf year is over. Yeah, I'm just trying to milk it out as much as I can. It kind of stinks, though. Like, right before I had to stop playing about a week and a half ago, I was playing the best golf I had played all year. 3 of my last 4 rounds, I shot a 75, 74, and a 73. On a par 70. Of course, and unfortunately had to end up stopping because of the cold weather. So I doubt I'm going to be able to put up a score like that playing on Wednesday. I'd be shocked if I do. Just taking a week and a half off. I take more than a few days off at a time. I'm lucky to break 80 that first time I get back out there. Especially with no driving range, because the driving range isn't going to be open, so I'm going to be struggling those first few holes, trying to get in a rhythm. But if I get off to a good start, then who knows. Those first like 3 or 4 holes are going to make or break my round. It's going to be the difference in me shooting like a 75 or an 85. Those first few holes. What, am I going to watch the Packers now playing today? So I plan on watching the end of the Lions game because I'm still in that contest and I have the Giants beating the Lions. I wanted to pick I think the Ravens over the Panthers was the most confident game to pick for that contest this week. But because I haven't picked the Ravens yet this year and they play Jacksonville next week, I felt that if I picked the Giants today, then I could take the Ravens next week. Even though Detroit's won 2 in a row, I'm a little nervous about it, to be completely honest. I'm a little bit nervous that the Lions, they're going to put up a tough fight against New York. I'm just hoping New York wins. Because I have more confidence in the next 2 weeks. Because I'll take Baltimore next week against Jacksonville. I feel very confident about that. But then I also feel confident taking the Browns over the Texans the week after that. Because Deshaun Watson's back. And banking on him wanting, I guess, revenge against his old team. But even though the things he would want revenge for aren't for the, they cut him for the right reasons. I don't know. Whatever the case is, I'm hoping he balls out. So that way the Browns can at least win, and then it gets tough again after that, because I'm getting down to the point where I don't have too many teams that have a winning record that I can pick from at this point in the year. I've saved a couple of them, like the Giants, like the, I haven't picked the Jets yet, but I'm not too confident with the Jets now that Breece Hall's hurt. I might not even take the Jets. They might be a different team now. Even the Browns could be a risky pick, too, not knowing how Deshaun Watson's going to play that first game back. We are at lap 108 right now. A 4.7 second lead for Greg Biffle. He's halfway on fuel at this point in the run. And we're really going to try to stretch it as long as he possibly can. Maybe there's a chance he makes it in one more stop, but I doubt it. Nothing by a field goal. What, in the Lions game already, or? Is that your final score prediction? I thought about taking the Commanders today, too, just to not take the Giants, just because I am scared of Detroit. The only reason I still want the Giants, well, two reasons. One, I stuck with my gut, because that was my original pick going into this week, before the Lions won again last week against the Bears, was take the Giants this week, so I can save the Ravens for the following week, even though I think the Ravens are going to blow out the Panthers. I need to save them, because if I took the Ravens this week, I wouldn't know who to take next week. There's so many toss-up games next week. And that's like the only safe one I feel comfortable and, you know, almost 100% guarantee that I feel like that team would win of who I have to pick from yet. These Survivor contests, man, they're difficult. Thank God I don't have to go into the playoffs. I mean, if I did, I would have saved a lot better teams, but you also don't want to save them for like the final week or two of the season, because if they're not playing for anything, they rest their starters. It's like, awesome, I saved the Bills, but now they're resting Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs this week. They're probably not going to win. So, you know, that's kind of a waste not taking them earlier in the year when they were good. I already took them. I can't remember who I had them against. But yeah, there's very few teams I have yet to pick from that are pretty good. I mean, a lot of them are about 500. I'm going to have to start taking here after a couple weeks. Well, I mean, even the Browns are below 500, but I feel confident taking them against the Texans with Deshaun back. Commanders are your team? We're halfway home in today's race when we get to the start-finish line. 113 down, another 113 yet to go. A little over an hour into the race. Again, hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you have not already. Time for tonight's trivia question on the channel. And today's trivia question is this: who are the only two drivers in NASCAR Cup Series history to win at the Texas Motor Speedway with more than one manufacturer? That is today's trivia question. Who are the two drivers in NASCAR Cup Series history to win at Texas with two different manufacturers? If you guys don't get the question by lap 117, at the end of lap 117, if the question is not correct, I will give you guys a hint, and you'll have until the end of lap 120 to try and answer today's trivia question on the channel. What race did this replace? For the custom schedule, well, I have a lot of fantasy tracks. There's actually quite a few ovals I won't be racing at. A couple of the 1.5 miles. And I know New Hampshire's one I'm not racing at. Yeah, we saw a lot of 3-wide racing in the restarts. It's just spread out now. Our second longest green flag run of the day as we are 26 laps into this run. Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards. Mark DeMars, you have gotten the question correct. I'm actually quite surprised somebody got it with their first guess. That is the answer. I thought I was going to have to get into the hint. My hint was going to be that both drivers are now retired. But yeah, Carl Edwards, Jeff Burton, the only two drivers in NASCAR history to win at Texas with more than one manufacturer. We'll have another Texas track fact tomorrow for you guys, as we'll be racing on the oval tomorrow with the Cup Series. Yeah, Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards was the answer to the trivia question. Carl Edwards, obviously, with Ford and Toyota. Jeff Burton with Ford and Chevrolet. See the tail end of the field, almost a whole front stretch yet behind Greg Biffle, but he'll get into lap traffic sooner rather than later. I wonder if he'll start catching him before we get into green flag pit stops or after. We saw a caution just as he was getting into lap traffic the last time. He lapped probably, I don't know, maybe not even a dozen cars before the yellow came out, but we'll see what he'll be able to lap this time around. Okay, Greg Biffle really trying to push the fuel tank, see if he can make this a two-stop race. And the only reason that would even be possible to potentially make it on two stops is because we've had 6 cautions today. For 18 caution laps, that has saved quite a bit of fuel. He pitted at lap 71. So it'll be a 50-lap stint on these tires this time by at the start-finish line. Wade, I know you're a Lions fan. I would not have picked against the Lions today if that game was in Detroit. With the Lions as hot as they are right now. I mean, I know it's only 2 wins in a row, but they've lost a lot of close games this year, too. I think they're one of those teams that are better than their record indicates, but at the same time, if it wasn't in New York and because of how good the Giants are doing and what a streak that they're on right now, I had to take the Giants. I think that might be the first time I've picked against the Lions this year. I picked against them with Green Bay on the other of the 2 entries I had, and I lost. And I'm like, well, I'm done picking the Packers. It was at that point in the season where I knew that Green Bay was a bad football team. I knew they were kind of bad before. I was like, we got to beat the Lions, right? Nope. That did not happen. Caution. Trouble somewhere around the racetrack. Our 7th caution of the race today. And right as we were getting into green flag pit stops, Boris said just completely wipes out Jamie McMurray in the 42. That was in turn 3. Shane Meal had to go into the grass to try and miss that wreck to the outside. Or miss at least cars that were checking up because of it. So Boris said, I think he was coming out of the pits, but he ended up taking out Jamie McMurray. Biffle's going to stay out of the pits and try to keep the track position here. I think that I would not be surprised if the rest of the field pitted. So it's going to be interesting on the restart how it's going to take place. Green flag back in the air. Tony Stewart has been in the top 5 all day. Must have pitted and fell lap down right before the caution came out. So green flag back in the air. As we'll have 100 laps to go this time by. Mark Martin's going to go into the lead. What a restart. Greg Biffle's not taking off well in the restarts today. He is lifting, trying to stay out of trouble. He gets squeezed into the wall by Martin Truex Jr. And Biffle back to 4th. And Mark Martin, for the first time today, is going to lead. Biffle's been stuck on the outside this entire lap. Mike Bliss got loose right in front of Greg Biffle. Biffle into him, and now Gordon gets by, and Biffle's back to 5th. Martin's still got about 3 lap cars he's got to try to pass. Gordon gets by Mike Bliss for 3rd. Greg Biffle's going to look extremely low into the first turn. They're 4 wide into turn 3, and Greg Biffle passes everybody. Oh my gosh. 1 lapper, 3 lead lap cars there. Now there's contact between Elliott Sadler and Greg Biffle, and Biffle's down in the grass. And that's going to allow Bliss to get back by the 16 for 4th. More contact with Mike Bliss. Good grief. These restarts have been crazy today. No one is safe. Big loose moment there for Biffle. Hangs on to the race car. Forces his way alongside Sadler for second. Well, contact with Borisset as well. As Mark Martin pulls. As Biffle and Sadler battle for second. And Biffle is clear for second place at the start-finish line. 97 laps to go. Mark Martin out in front, trying to win his third race of the season, all on road courses. He's kind of been the road course king this season. Biffle's won on road courses quite a bit too, but Mark Martin, nearly unbeatable. And he's putting together a good run today. Biffle charges hard through turn 4, gets alongside Mark Martin. He'll be on the outside. Biffle with the crossover. And that undercut move. Oh no, he crashes Martin into the wall. Goes both rash midway forward. Sadler piles in a big wreck. Our 8th caution of the race. Biffle tried to clear. That was a hard hit. Mike Bliss involved as well. He took out Mark Martin. Biffle so close to being clear, but he wasn't. And each of the top 4 all got a piece of it. And now Biffle's going to be at the tail end of the field. There's a lot of damage on a few more cars. And Biffle can't pit for fuel and tires here, and he's going to have to end up pitting under green here soon as well. And we're having cautions breeding cautions again, just like we did early in the race. Borisset gets the free pass. Tony Stewart was able to stay on the lead lap prior to that caution after getting in front of the leaders on the restart. Just 30 cars on the lead lap. Green flag back in the air at the Texas Roval, lap 133. And that caution absolutely hurts this 16 of Greg Biffle. Big loose moment there going into that corner. He wedges himself between Kyle Busch and Casey Kane. On the outside of Busch. Gonna let the 5 go. Mike Bliss to the lead on the restart. Biffle locking the brakes up, slamming himself underneath Joe Nemechek, and forcing his way into a 3-wide predicament again. Biffle desperate to try and get all this track position back as quickly as he can. So close to the grass down on the bottom of the racetrack that time. Slides into Kurt Busch, now he wrecks another teammate, and Kurt almost upside down. Biffle has to dial it back big time here because that is 2 teammates he has now wrecked very harshly in that final corner. And even more cars collected in this accident behind. That apron move has worked all day in turn 7, but it's bit him the last 2 times he's tried it. We've got quite a few cars pitting here behind Biffle. We know Biffle will not be taking any fuel or tires, causing another accident. We have had 9 cautions now in today's race. Headed for another restart.
We are deep in the field. Be careful and start working your way up.
flag back in the air. Lap 30. Or sorry, lap 138. Position 30 is where Biffle's at. I think Kurt Busch was the only other car to pit there, probably because he had severe damage. But he's got fresher tires than the rest of the field, going to try to make up some spots. He was in the top 10 all day. Another stack up. Biffle wedges himself into Casey Kane. Biffle not too aggressively down on the apron like he was. And that was allowing him to hold it. Kyle Busch up into the wall. Off turn 7. Stacking up Jeff Burton behind him, and Biffle gets by the 5 and the 31 on the front stretch for 18th. Caution for debris, I would have to assume. There. Oh, and Biffle just ran it over and blows the right front. My goodness. Elliott Sadler sheds debris, bringing out our 10th caution, and Greg Biffle runs it over, blowing it. Oh, big wreck back there. My goodness. That was more than just debris from Elliott Sadler. We had like 3 or 4 cars flipping. Oh my God. What was that? Oh man. And then Biffle blows a tire further back in the field but didn't wreck. What was that? Biffle gonna have to take tires after that. He's right back on a similar strategy again. That was just... I don't know. It's like he lost his brakes and then they just flipped. There was like 3 or 4 cars flipping. Into a non-safer barrier wall too. That was concrete at over 100 miles an hour. Head on for a lot of cars. And now there's probably even more cars with damage. Green flag back in the air. Following our 11th caution. One stop out from the finish of the race for everybody. Mark Martin in the lead off that restart. Sadler and Bliss still up there trying to challenge. They have a pilot license. If they don't before, they do now. Biffle into Jeff Green. Making some contact. Quickly getting up to 23rd. Waltrip trying to block the 16 of Biffle. Biffle going to go down to the apron. He's got fresher tires, trying to get some grip. Caution's going to be out in front of him anyway. Carl Edwards just got to the lead prior to the yellow, I do believe. And I think it was Waltrip who sheds... Oh, sorry, no, Kyle Busch. And I think that front bumper has come off the 5 of Busch. It looks like his hood's about to fall off, too, at some point. 12 cautions today at the Texas Roval, and it's probably not the last as we still have a little over 80 laps to go out of 226. Headed to another restart. Green flag back in the air. Exactly 80 to go. First time Carl Edwards has led all afternoon long. Biffle actually made some clean moves in turn 3 that time. As I say that, turn 4, he gets into the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield. And almost hooked him. It's going to put Biffle on the outside with a couple of the Evernham Dodges just underneath him. Caution for debris somewhere else around the field. I heard it. Didn't see it, and it was Kyle Busch's hood as we look out of the rear view. So, second straight debris caution for Kyle Busch, and both him and Waltrip look alike. Got a couple of modifieds out on the track now. Used parts sale for everything must go. Yeah. Really. You don't say. Start putting for sale signs and all the debris flying everywhere. We have definitely seen more debris cautions than actual wrecks in this race. But I mean, there's a lot of torn up cars. And a lot of cars keep getting the free pass. We're down to almost nobody a lap down anymore that's still in this race. Scott Wimmer's the only lap car. And Matt Kenseth now going to be the leader on the restarters. I guess he got to the lead right before the caution. This is the first time Kenseth has led. So all 5 Roush Fenway Fords have at least led 1 lap in today's race now. Though Edwards never actually led under green. Though neither has Kenseth. Biffle wedges right in front of the 31 of Jeff Burton. And up to 16th. And how about Mike Bliss getting back to the lead in the 0 again? Biffle all the way down on the bottom. Slides up, just kept it off of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Close call. He's trying to get all the time he can right now. We're running out of time. 74 to go. And everybody still has to pit one more time yet in today's race. They've all pitted twice for tires. Well, I guess Biffle 3 times. I heard some contact somewhere in the field. Oh, man, Biffle in the grass almost spun out. Earnhardt gets into him from behind. Sadler into the wall on the outside, stacking up Kevin Harvick, Casey Mears, and Kenny Wallace. That decklet is flapping off of Elliott Sadler's race car. Harvick to the inside of the 38. The 16 of Biffle underneath Sadler, but hits the inside wall. And because of that, Elliott Sadler able to stay in front of the 16. Sadler a rival right now of Greg Biffle. Biffle clears Casey Mears for 11th place on the racetrack. We still have one more field pass left in the race today as well. Mark Martin back to the lead on the restart. Took him a few laps, but he is back up there. Martin trying to get his 3rd win of the season. It'll give him the 2nd most wins of any driver so far on this Cup season. Handful of drivers with 2 wins. Sadler trying to take Biffle out. Biffle trying to get away from him. He's going to be clear, though. He's on the outside of the 1 car now of Martin Truex Jr. And so tempting to try and clear the 1. And now he is clear. So he'll go down and block to get to the inside into turn 1. Truex going to try to cross over to the outside. Biffle will give him the top. So that way he can have the bottom. Biffle locks the tires up going into turn 3. How about Terry Labonte inside the top 10 still? He's had a great day in that 44 Kellogg Chevrolet. The Cornflakes car, I should say. Full down on the apron, low dive. And he has cleared Terry Labonte. Joe Nemechek having a great performance in the 01 Army car. Harvick underneath of Nemechek. Nemechek trying to sideswipe the 16. Look at Biffle fighting up the middle 3 wide with Nemechek and Harvick. Couldn't quite get around the 29, but he got around the 01. And Harvick holds on in front as Biffle's up to 8th. Topsy-turvy day for a lot of cars in this field. Harvick into the Should say Biffle into the back of Harvick pretty hard into turn 3. Saying a yellow at lap 169. Harvick is looking really good right now. Charged very quickly on Dale Jarrett. Biffle still trying to charge. Going for it. Starting to back it up a little better in the middle of that 7th turn to try to make those passes. And it's starting to work out for him as he has gotten around Kevin Harvick. Harvick trying to get back alongside Biffle again, though. Biffle almost spun out as he clips the inside wall going into turn 3. Jarrett pulls away, and Jarrett's got a big run on the 99 of Edwards. He was in the lead a couple restarts ago. Edwards gets loose, and Jarrett's underneath him now, trying to get around him for 5th. With a lot of drivers towards the front of the point standings having issues today, this is a chance for Mike Bliss to get back into it. 7th in points. There's a big gap, though, between himself and even Gordon and 6th, and Gordon in 6th place has a shot to get back in it because he's in 3rd. Trying to survive. I would have to believe Biffle's led the most laps at this point in the race. As he charges down to the bottom. Underneath Carl Edwards. Clears him. Now he's underneath the 88 of Dale Jarrett, trying to side draft Jarrett on the front stretch. And into turns 1 and 2. Jarrett's got a little bit more speed in that fastest area of the racetrack. Blocks Greg Biffle. Sticks it on the curb still. Biffle underneath Jarrett now in turn 4. Can he clear him? He does clear Dale Jarrett. He's going to let Matt Kenseth go. Try to cut in between the 88 and the 17. Gets into Kenseth. There's contact. They did not wreck that time, though. Kenseth's up into the wall. Biffle's up to 4th. Kenseth has the run back to the outside. Jarrett drives it in deep. Oh, and he spins nearly into Kenseth. Biffle got a little loose trying to pick the throttle back up. These guys are going for everything. Everybody's fighting everybody. Final field pass of the race. We'll go to Carl Edwards in the 99 car first. He is in 7th. Mark Martin continues to lead at the Texas Roval. Edwards going way down low underneath Dale Jarrett, the 88. Clears him for 6th. 4 Roush Fenway Fords right now are inside the top 6. Only outlier is Kurt Busch in the 97. His damage from earlier, and last we saw was around 30th. Edwards going to try to look underneath his teammate. Did a good job backing off there late. 48K Forgotten, welcome into the stream also. See you in the chat. Edwards is up to 5th as he clears Kenseth. Won at Texas in his rookie season in 2005 on the oval, of course, not the Roval. Cup Series in real life has a run a Texas Roval race. Edwards with a nice little run on the 16 of Greg Biffle. Biff closing in on Jeff Gordon, but Edwards closing in, gets by Biffle. He wants a shot at Gordon yet. Edwards to 4th. 39.042 that last lap by Edwards. Fastest lap for any Roush Fenway Ford today. We're down to the final 70 laps of this race. Actually, final 60 laps. Fuel window to the finish going to open up here very soon. Edwards down underneath Jeff Gordon in the 24, trying to get a run on him. Gordon gets a bit loose, back onto the pavement. Edwards side by side with Gordon for position. We'll go to Kurt Busch in the 97 car next. So he's back at 28 still. Deep in the field. We'll see how many spots we can get for him in the next handful of laps. Off the curbing, barely clears the 15 of Michael Waltrip. Backed up the corner so he could try to squeeze underneath the 36 of Boris Said. Cleared him. Quickly gets underneath the 10 of Riggs, who really tries to crowd the 97. Let's see if we can get Busch inside the top 20 before we transfer to either Matt Kenseth or Mark Martin next. Riggs is really pinching the 97 car of Kurt Busch off. And it looks like Kenseth is going to pit this time, and I wonder if the fuel window's open to the end of the race, and that might be why we're seeing pit stops. Busch charges around the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield. Jimmy Spencer in the 50, down on the bottom, underneath. Oh, and there's contact! Tony Stewart on the inside of the track trying to pit. Kurt's going to get around him quickly as Spencer and Busch split Stewart. No caution, we stay green. Kurt didn't give Jimmy Spencer a lot of room on the bottom and kind of almost turned himself off the left front fender of Spencer's race car. Mayfield with a deep dive. Oh, man, he's hard into the inside wall. Stacking up Kurt a little. And these are the final pit stops of the race for those that are pitting. Kurt into the wall. That'll cost him some speed, especially on the fastest area of the racetrack. Watch out for that 49 car. Kenny Schrader trying to get up to speed on the bottom of the racetrack. Busch with the dive under Mayfield. Clears him. Down to the inside of Jimmy Spencer in the 50. We'll go to Matt Kenseth in the 17 car next. He has already pitted, so he's barely on the lead lap after pitting. That's actually pretty big that somebody was able to cycle out in front of the leader. So if we get a caution, Matt Kenseth can remain on the lead lap. It looks like there's another car as well that's not that far behind him that is also on the lead lap in front of Mark Martin. So a lot of clean air for Kenseth here. And we'll have to transfer to Mark Martin next for the finish of this race. .135 that lap for Kenseth. Imagine with fresh tires and clean air, though, the lap times Kenseth's going to be able to run here. He restarted in the lead on that most recent restart as well. We've had 12 cautions in today's race. Have we seen the last? Or will we get more before the finish? A couple different times today where we've had decently long green flag runs, but then cautions kind of breed cautions. Whether it's a big wreck and then debris yellows to follow, or vice versa. 39.070 for Kenseth. That's a fast lap, too. Wonder if we're going to see any 38s. We were close with Edwards. If we're going to see a 38-second lap time, it's probably going to be with Kenseth while he's got the clean air advantage right now. Close, 39.004. It's just 4/1000ths of a second off from a 39 flat. One more lap with the 17 yet. Maybe this lap will be the one. Has to be, right? Nope, 39.054. We'll try one more lap with Kenseth. There, wow. 38.873 for Matt Kenseth. That sure was a 38-second lap time. A 38.8. Martin just ran a 39.9 that last lap. Martin's got about a 1-second lead over Mike Bliss. We'll go 4 laps with Martin, then we'll go back to Greg Biffle for the rest of the race. Tyler Burback, welcome into the stream. Kenseth definitely set sail on those fresh tires. .39.354 for Martin that lap. So just a handful of drivers have made their final stop already. Our driver Greg Biffle still has to make one more. Blub, thanks for tuning in. Mark Barton closing in on the 29 of Harvick. The 39.006 that lap for Martin as he's right in line behind the 29 of Harvick. In the draft, oh, got really loose. Touching the apron there at the wrong time. Trying to get by the 29 car and does with a clean pass. Go one more lap with Martin once we get back to the start-finish line, this time by Mark really growing that lead out over Mike Bliss at this juncture of the race. 38.890 for Mark Martin that lap, and that was even after getting loose off of turn 2. He kind of clipped the apron in a bad on-throttle spot. And he had to pass the 29 of Harvick that lap in turn 4 as well. .7 lead. 38.9 that last lap again. And we'll go to Greg Biffle, who is in 5th. For the rest of this race, as we're at lap 182. So again, Biffle in 5th, although Kenseth was in front of him and already pit. So, I mean, out of technicality, Biffle would probably be in 6th place. Knocking up that right front tire just a bit in turn 3. To try to not do that going forward. He's 8.5 seconds behind Mark Martin. Halfway out of fuel during this run. Wait, racers saw lock up the... well, we're in 3rd in points, so we're not leading despite 10 wins this season, so... I don't know if I'm going to be able to clinch early, even though we've got a hot streak going on right now in the middle of the year. Trying to play catch-up from those 4 DNFs in the first 15 races to start the season. The last 8 have been really good for Biffle. Just clears Earnhardt with a little slide job, almost into the wall. And Earnhardt trying to cross him back over, but Biffle will throw the block and hang on to 5th, so... Biffle back in the top 5, gets a little arrow loose from the 8 of Earnhardt, though, going into turn 1. It's going to allow the 8 to get right back underneath. Clears Greg Biffle, and Biffle's going to have to try to make that pass again on Earnhardt. I thought the battle was done as soon as Biffle made the pass on Dale Jr., but that was not the case. Extremely low dive, though, for Biffle. It's where he slid in front of Jr. the last time, but Jr. crossed him over. This time, no chance for Dale Jr. to cross over Greg Biffle. Much better lap that time through turn 7 for Biffle. Aiden Hutchinson had an INT. Skirting those tires quite a bit. We know he's going to have fresh tires yet to the end of the race. That's one thing for Matt Kenseth. If he has a chance to cycle back into the lead, he has the freshest tires in the field. He short pitted as soon as the window opened. He's still on the lead lap. Caution came out, he'd restart in the lead, but he would also get a little bit further back in the running order as well. We'll have 50 laps to go at the start-finish line this time by. 40 laps to go at the start-finish line this time by. Mark Martin going to pit from the lead. Carl Edwards coming in as well. Greg Biffle way down to the track as he gets underneath of Edwards and had to swing high above Bliss. That ended up not working out as well as I would have hoped. He was trying to take that shortcut. That was a big risk for Biffle to do what he did. And he actually lost time to Gordon in doing so because he had to check up quite a bit to zigzag through the cars trying to make their way into the pits. And Dale Jr. catches right back up again behind the 16. Jeff Gordon just led his first lap of the entire race. 5 bonus points for the 6th place driver in the standings. Gordon's had kind of a quiet but good day after a slow start. Biffle, who has led a lot of laps in this race today, trying to close cautions out. And that's going to cycle quite a few drivers ahead of the 24 and the 16 who just pitted and didn't lose a lap yet, as we have trouble. Is that Borisset again? It is. Borisset has crashed in turn 3 for the second time today. It looked like Sterling Marlin kind of piled into the wall and into him late as well. And now Biffle's going to have to pit under the caution flag, along with the rest of the field, who has not hit pit road. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments on the 16 of Greg Biffle. We've seen a lot of cautions breeding other cautions in the race today. We'll see what will come of this. This is going to be interesting. This is the money stop for sure, but we know that these guys pitting now will not be the leaders. I would not be shocked that Mark Martin's still going to be in the lead, assuming Kenseth didn't cycle past him yet. There's going to be quite a few drivers a lap down because of this too, but there's also going to be quite a few that are also going to cycle ahead of Biffle. So Biffle's going to have quite a few lap cars and lead lap cars to pass. So he's going to lose, it looks like 3 spots, 4 spots lost on pit road. It was a clean stop. Those could have been some lap cars that beat him out of the pits as well. Stewart's a lap down again. Biffle back in 15th. Green flag back in the air, and Martin will be the leader on the restart. We are down to 36 laps to go to try to crown the winner at the Texas Roval. Biffle into the corner. Full contact with Nemechek and Labonte. He fought his way down to the inside. And he'll do it again in turn 7. Trying not to wreck the field as he's going to come across the racetrack here. Keeps it really low. It works. Bliss got a little sideways and had a lap car of Kenny Schrader checked out behind him to keep from running over the 0. It's a great restart by Biffle. By far, Greg Biffle's best restart of the race today. Contact with Harvick. More contact. Edwards on the outside of it. Harvick upset with Biffle now. And Edwards was able to get by the 29 of Harvick for 5th. Assuming those are both lead lap cars. Biffle charging hard to the outside of Kevin Harvick. Carl Edwards, that'll put him on the inside in turn 4. A little contact with his teammate in the 99. Biffle is up to 4th. Race leader Mark Martin is right there. Kenseth underneath him for the lead. Kenseth by half a car length leads that time at the line. Biffle's got a massive run. He's on the inside of Martin. Biffle up to 2nd. What a restart for the 16. Looking low, trying to keep it off his teammate. Into turn 4, looking to the bottom. Bunch of lap cars in the way on the outside. Biffle has not cleared Matt Kenseth yet into turn 7, and they're side by side for the lead still. Lap car got loose. Right in front of the leaders. They're both all over the back of that lapper. Going into oval 1 and 2. Biffle on the outside. Matt Kenseth on the bottom. He'll get to the inside of the lap car, using him as a pick. Biffle back in line behind. Biffle gets really loose. Trying to lock those tires up into turn 3. Keeps control enough. But Kenseth, again, holds on. And Biffle again to the outside through 6 into 7. But now Scott Riggs is the next lap car up ahead. And this might be a carbon copy of what happened the last lap. Riggs gets loose. Biffle able to actually get to the bottom as he had already gotten cleared by the 17 of Kenseth. Kenseth slides clear of the 10 of Riggs. Goes a bit wide into turns 1 and 2. contact between Riggs and Biffle. Biffle going low under Kenseth. For the third time, he'll get alongside his teammate for the lead and clear him at the line. Greg Biffle leads at the Texas Roval with 30 to go. Kenseth still challenging. Underneath, there's contact. And Kenseth may get to the lead as a result. I think he did. And Biffle back to second. Another big dive by the Biff. And clears again at the line on Kenseth. It's close between most laps led between Mark Martin and Greg Biffle in this race. Kenseth with a run on the outside. Back and forth go the 16 and the 17 late. Biffle holds clear in turn 3. He'll be coming for 28 to go at the line. What a battle between the Roush Fenway Fords there. And Greg Biffle leads in this race. And trying to pull away and get to the checkered flag to win his 11th race of the season, but most importantly, for record's sake, his 5th in a row. Hopefully he can clinch the most laps led between now and then as well. We'll have to see. One car on pit road that blew an engine after the restart, I guess. That was definitely Greg Biffle's best restart of the race. And at lap 200, I'd say he's doing pretty good for himself. Going off pretty wide, close to the wall that time. Kept it off of it, though. That was the big thing. Matt Kenseth hasn't won a race yet this season. The only Roush Fenway driver to not win a race, points race at least. Kenseth won one of the exhibition dual races at the start of the season during our speed weeks at Daytona. Greg Biffle has cleared Brian Vickers. Puts him a lap down again. Tony Stewart is top 10 in points. Has lost a lot of points today with where he's at in the running order outside the top 30. Most likely outside the top 30 right now. And Greg Biffle going to try to catch it, put him a lap down. He'd be in the free pass position if we get a late yellow, though, so he would get back on the lead lap at least. But I'd like to be on the lead lap. Imagine if NASCAR did this. It would definitely be a wildly chaotic race. They would have to have a different layout because that... Or they just go the other way around the track. I mean, they could do that. Like, if they just went the correct way around the track with this layout, I think it could work. Problem is, they already have a road course in the state of Texas at Coda they've been going to the last couple of years, too, so... For that reason also, I don't know that it would necessarily work. I think from the racing perspective it would, but fan perspective, I don't know that so much. $23 to go, 22 to go. At the start-finish line this time by. We have seen 13 cautions in today's race at the Texas Roval. A 3.1 second lead for Greg Biffle, and trying to get a modern era NASCAR record 5 consecutive Cup wins. And potentially going to be in the points lead, the way things are looking right now. It'll be just the 4th race he's led in points this season, the 2nd different time he will have led in points if he can get to the points lead with this 11th win. And have some momentum trying to go for the Texas sweep at the Texas Oval tomorrow night. Biffle trying to get around lap car Tony Stewart. Didn't have enough of a run on the front stretch that time to get underneath him. Although he challenged. I think turn 7 this lap, he's going to have a great chance to try and get by Tony Stewart. Looks underneath Stewart. Turn 4. Stewart trying to side draft the 16. He is running Greg Biffle a little wide in the middle of the corner, similar to how Johnson did earlier with Kurt Busch. Oh, he just squeezed him into the wall! Tony Stewart is around, and Biffle got squeezed. Another caution in today's race. And second time Greg Biffle's gotten squeezed by another driver, bringing out a caution. First it was Jeff Green when he was trying to lap him, and now Tony Stewart. Giving ourselves a late yellow. This will bunch the field back together. I don't think Biffle's got too much damage. Yeah, I'm not punishing myself on that one either. He was crowding us in the middle of the corner, and I probably should have just lifted and let him go. Green flag back in the air. Biffle's only had one good restart today, and he's looking for another. Needs it right now with a lot of teammates, and of course the leaders all behind him. Kenseth underneath. Martin going up the middle as well. Biffle is squeezed into the wall by a lot of cars. Kevin Harvick and Mike Bliss all got into Biffle there, and Biffle is hung all the way back to about 7th. He was stuck on the outside, and there were 3 wide, and that just did not work. They all got wadded up. Now Schrader gets loose right in front of Harvick, who ended up in the wall. Biffle down into Labonte, who slides. And Kenseth's pulling away. $15 to go at the line this time by. Biffle's 2.6 seconds behind Matt Kenseth in 6th place with 15 laps to go. He's got a rival of Kevin Harvick right in front of him. He's going to try to pass. Kenseth trying to become the 10th different winner this season and the 5th of all 5 Roush Fenway cars to finally win a race. Just got back in the top 10 in points after the most recent race at the Dodge Raceway a couple nights ago. Contact between Harvick and Biffle. Biffle has crashed. Harvick's upside down. So is Biffle. And Biffle has just crashed out of the Texas Roval race. Pushed too hard. A violent crash for the 29 and the 16. Our 15th caution in Biffle's day is done. And his date with history is over, and he is going to lose a lot of points. Daggum. 5th DNF of the year for Greg Biffle. Second time he's crashed like that today, but that one did him in. Green flag back in the air. It's Kenseth trying to get his first career, or not first career win, but first win of the season on the restart. 11 laps to go, trying to get to the bottom. Carl Edwards is going to beat him to it. Kenseth's stuck on the top right now. Really loose. Contact with the 49 of Kenny Schrader. Edwards to the lead. 10 to go at the line. Not doubt that we see any debris cautions here before the finish yet. Edwards trying to fight by the lap cars, as is Matt Kenseth. Kenseth is trapped. It's one way to get by the lappers. Can he clear them? He does, barely. Edwards has Kenseth closing in with 9 to go. The rookie trying to get his second win of the rookie season. And Kenseth trying to get his first win to give ourselves another new winner on the year. Kenseth blocked by Carl Edwards. Kenseth down to the apron to get by the 99. Not bad for Kenseth. He does take the lead as he leads the lap at the line, but Edwards still on the outside. He could not clear him. He was trying to be patient and not risk wrecking. Edwards holds on to the lead. Kenseth clipped the apron just a bit, trying to keep control of his race car as he backs up turn 3. Mark Martin now has an issue. I believe Martin has just blown a motor. The second Roush Fenway Ford in the top 10 to blow an engine in this race. That is unbelievable. Biffle has crashed out, battling for 5th with Harvick. And then Martin, who restarted in 3rd, is now out of the race as we have 7 to go. See if Martin can make his way into the pits without a caution coming out. As Kenseth and Edwards still battle for the win. Kenseth all over Carl Edwards. Going for the lead again to the apron in turn 7. Can he clear this time? And he has easily got to clear. That was a great corner by Matt Kenseth. He's cleared by about 2 car lengths at the line. 6 laps to go. Kenseth back in the lead. We're losing the lead to Edwards on the restart. Luckily, he was able to only lose 1 spot to Edwards. We'll see if Edwards can close. Edwards trying to close desperately in turn 4. Turn 3 into 4. The infield portion of the racetrack. Kenseth with the clean air advantage now. It's going to be tough to beat the 17. Despite the late issues for Roush Fenway Racing, they still might end up with a 1-2 finish. Still have no clue who led the most laps in today's race either. It's either Martin or Biffle, and they both are out of the race. Yeah, we go from 21 points out of first. We're probably going to be over 100 out of first again. Although I don't know where Sadler's at. He got in a crash earlier today and flipped himself. He's still in it, I believe. Edwards is probably going to be the points leader. He's only 16 out of first coming into the race. About a second and a half off the race lead in second. He's led laps today. 3 laps to go. When caution comes out now, the race will end. And Biffle has to have a great finish to the season. We're down to 13 races to go after this one. And our next race is tomorrow night at Texas. A 500-mile race on one of the toughest mile and a halves on this game. This and Charlotte, honestly, in my opinion, are the 2 toughest. He had the fastest car in the field today. Too aggressive late after losing spots on that late restart. If Tony Stewart didn't pinch him into the wall, causing that late caution, and then the restart putting him back in, Biffle was set sail. He had a few seconds of a lead. And that wreck came out with, what, 15 to go? And that was just a tough break. White flag in the air at the line. We will finish this race under green. And it's Matt Kenseth in the 17 car who is going to get his first win of the season. Again, 10 different winners now through the first 23 races. Still have some drivers towards the top of the points who haven't won, like Jimmy Johnson, Mike Bliss. That could end up getting wins before the season's done. 2 more super speedways as well. I could see a world where we have 14 or 15 different winners at this point. Checkered flag in the air off turn 7. Matt Kenseth will capture the flag at the Texas Roval and gets his first win, and a big day for the driver who just moved into 10th in points. Couple DNFs for his own teammate who is ahead of him in the standings. Can Matt Kenseth make a late season charge to try and win the championship? Cool that all 5 Roush cars have won a race this season. Kurt Edwards, Kenseth with 1, Mark Martin with 2, and Biffle has 10. So hard to win 5 races in a row. Who knows, maybe we'll try it again some other time. Maybe we'll never have a chance at it again. Look at the finishing order. What a wild card race today. 22 laps led for race winner Matt Kenseth, the margin of victory of 2.3 seconds. Carl Edwards ends up second with 7 laps led. Travis Kvapil, the rookie, having a career day and former truck champion, finishes third. Joe Nemechek ends up fourth with a top 5. And Casey Kane finishes 5th with a top 5. So, a couple of dodges up there. I'm looking at the stats for who I've kept track of so far this season. That is the second top 5 for Casey Kane this year, the first top 5 for Joe Nemechek, and the first top 10 even, as well as top 5 for Travis Kvapil. So credit to those guys having a good day. Mike Bliss, underdog in his own right, just this season in general, came in 7th in points. He did lead 7 laps, finishes 6th. Jeff Burton finishes 7th place today. Casey Mears ends up 8th. Dale Jarrett 9th. And Elliott Sadler, the points leader, will get a top 10 finish despite flipping earlier in the race. He did not DNF like me when I flipped. And his looked more violent than mine, too, after he had that debris. And then just overran turn 3 hard into the wall and into a bunch of cars. But he leads 13 laps. Ends up with the 10th place finish. Kurt Busch ended up 19th after leading the first 29 laps after starting on the pole today. And the most laps led goes to Greg Biffle, who led 99 laps. Mark Martin led 46. Martin blew an engine with just 7 laps to go. Finishes 35th. Biffle Rex out of the race with 15 to go. And unfortunately ends up finishing 37th. By having the car to beat today. Rusty Wallace, Ricky Rudd, Scott Wimmer, Jimmy Johnson, another driver in the top 5 in points DNF. Hall, Jeff Gordon blew an engine in this race as well. 3 drivers in the top 6 in points failed to finish this race today. That is insane. That's a lot of DNFs though. Yeah, Rusty Wallace, Ricky Rudd, Scott Wimmer, Jimmy Johnson, Hall, Jeff Gordon, Greg Biffle, Kenny Schrader, Mark Martin, all blew engines. 9 cars DNF'd. Through 15 cautions for 45 caution laps today as well. And we had 30 cars finish on the lead lap. 3 hours, 21 minutes total time in the race today. 92.57 average speed of the race. 26 lead changes with those 15 cautions. I mean, you want to talk about a wild card race. Today was definitely one of those. And there's Matt Kenseth in victory lane with his teammate Kurt Busch. Dang. Well, tomorrow night, the Dickies 500 at Texas. 334 laps, 500 miles of action. And it should be a fun one starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we have 13 races to go to crowning a champion. Time to look at the point standings. Oh boy. I'm scared to look at it. Sadler ended up with the top 10. He came in as a points leader, but Carl Edwards should be the points leader, finishing second today, and he is. 20 points separates Edwards from Sadler. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first points lead for rookie Carl Edwards this season, so congrats to him. Taking the points lead in his rookie year after 23 races. Still sitting with 1 win, but he is the most consistent thus far. Greg Biffle still third in points, but he lost 97 points to the points lead. It helped that Sadler lost the points lead, but obviously Sadler still had a good finish, and Edwards finishing second was not good for Biffle either. So that definitely hurts the 16. Kurt Busch, fourth in points. He's 143 back. And then, yeah, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, both DNF. Not a good day for Hendrick Motorsports. They didn't have a single of their 5 drivers in the top 10 at the finish of this race today. Mike Bliss, not that far behind Gordon and Johnson after finishing 6th today, leading some laps. He's on a late surge in this season. Matt Kenseth moves up a spot in points to 9th with a win, his first of the year. 355 out of first, but he does close. Doesn't help the points leader now finish second today. I mean, there's 4 drivers in the top 12 in points who haven't won. Johnson and Bliss, 6th and 7th, haven't won yet this year either. I think we still have a good shot to get even more different winners, especially with a couple super speedways left. Still have some more fantasy road courses. This was a wild card race today. I'm sure every fantasy road course is going to be a wild card the rest of the way as well. We still have to race at Infineon, which is Sonoma Raceway now as well. So thanks for everybody watching today. Like, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon.